Hey everyone, so some fans of the stream from a long time ago may recognize this vehicle. This is what we're going to be messing with today. Apologies if things are a little bit janky today because I'm just starting out using my new desk setup, so the mic is in a different spot, and I'm actually going to be trying to make this video in 2K. We'll see how good that turns out. I don't know if I'm actually going to be able to do it or not, but we'll see. I'm hoping that that'll fix the encoding issues, specifically when it comes to YouTube compressing things a little too much, but yeah, we'll see how it goes. So I made this Sancho a long time ago on stream. It was the same stream with the Total Abomination vehicle, which I will spare your eyes from seeing, for now at least. But what we're going to be attempting to do today is turn this into a desert prerunner, and then we're going to cross the desert map in Beam. Let's give it a go. So this is where it currently is. I don't think I want to go for something just ridiculous. Like, we could turn up the quality sliders, we could just put on the best possible pieces. I want to try and be semi-realistic. That being said, it's not going to be perfect pre-runner by any means. So what I want to try to do here, I think what we can get away with is going for trailing arm instead at the back. That might end up breaking things, but if that doesn't work, we'll end up having to switch it back to leaf or something to get the ride height I'm going for, and we'll keep double wishbones in the front. Hopefully that'll work. We'll see though. And engine-wise, so it has a boxer engine. It makes 176 horsepower. Honestly, I don't think that's enough. We can probably modify it a little bit. Let's see, though, if there's any room for improvement. So it's 176, and the pistons and the conrods are dying. Let's see if we can make this a touch better. So immediately I'm going to put it up to be a boxer 6, and we're going to have more power. But wheel spin is now an issue. I'm liking the more power. Wheel spin, not great. It's a 3.7 liter, which is pretty big. But yeah, I guess we can leave it around there. Let's jump it up to dual overhead cam, and we'll leave it at 2 valves. And it's going to continue to be a cast iron engine. We don't want to change it too much. 250 horsepower is nice. Heavy duty cast. Let's switch that up to forged. I want to get a bit more. Hopefully we can manage 300 horsepower without killing too many things in here. And the tuning stage, right, so compression, although this engine is naturally aspirated, we'll keep it that way, but that means we need to do some work here. So we can turn up the compression. So interestingly, the graphs that are usually over here have disappeared in favor of a new layout. I guess that's just a new automation update, but we'll work with that regardless, because we can see them if we jump over here. This is what I'm talking about. So we'll have to base everything based on that. Anyways, let's go. I don't know. We're knocking currently, which isn't a good sign. Let's turn this down. The cam profile is also very aggressive, so I think I'm going to turn that down as well. We're going to lose power, but we'll try to make up for that in a bit. If we go into turbos, well, we're skipping that. It's currently carbureted. Let's switch to injection. Multi-point EFI. We'll do per cylinder performance. That's probably a worthy upgrade. And we're also going to need more RPM limit out of this. Just a little bit more. We want to make it go beyond the top horsepower so we can stay at it when we rev. Okay, so we've gotten a nice 260 horsepower, but this is something that's very expensive. Let's go long tubular dual exhaust. That's going to make that quite a bit more, and as always with this, ooh, seems our exhaust is actually a little bit too big already. So our pistons and our conrods may want to die, but we do have 300 horsepower, 345 newton meters. That is a pretty decent curve as well, and that's going to work as well. We've got our octane sort of matched up. Everything looks good. So let's give it a try in this body, but first, we need to style this. So I was thinking of possibly switching over to the pickup version, but then I decided it'd be a lot more unique if we went with this. And again, the suspension is probably going to change if we can't raise this up, so let's do that first. Skipping over to suspension, we're just going to ignore that for now. Our ride height is currently maxed, so obviously whatever I chose in the back is not going to work. With a quick switch to double wishbone in the back, we can raise the thing up a decent amount, not quite as much as I would have liked. It doesn't need to be massive, but we do want to have some decent wheel gap here, so we'll keep that as big as it can be, and we'll just go for that full off-road preset for now. Let's go back to styling though. So colors wise, this thing is currently gold. It's not a bad color of gold, but I'm going to change it. Now in the past I have made some particularly bad colors, including this one, so we'll avoid that, but we'll try and go for something maybe a little bit more realistic. Oh yeah, and our convertible top as well, we need to change the color of it. It's currently a nice dark blue. Let's make it something else. Oh, and we absolutely could just make it body colored, so it would look like a canvas top, but actually be made out of plastic, or in this case, I guess it would be steel. That's kind of weird looking though. Decided on a black cloth top. It seems to look pretty decent on this. And wheels, that's gonna be good. Alright, moving on. So there was one thing that I totally forgot to do, and that's something that we absolutely need, and that is wide fenders. As wide as they'll go is as much as we need. Widening the fenders, I kind of broke the back bumper, but that's okay because it's not very good anyways. We're going to be changing that out. Also, we've got dual exhaust now, so we'll be changing that out too. And it says Sancho on the back, all nice. Wheels are good. Let's see, what kind of classic things do we just have to have on here? Okay, the first one is probably this needs to go as well. Evidently, with our new fender extensions, it's no longer needed, or it just doesn't fit anymore. This is kind of an odd build, and it always has been, especially because it's 85, but it looks like it has LED lights. It also has the grill off of a Lexus, so it's a unique one. We'll keep that design style in mind as we try and make this maybe a little bit better. Alright, what I've decided to do is this, but we're going to use that age-old trick once again, assuming the mod is still in, as things are disappearing with the new updates. Ooh, looks like it might not be. We might not be able to cut things out anymore, at least not in this version. Well, I'll have to do it the old-fashioned way before I discovered that there were other methods of cutting out bumpers. This will work, it's just gonna look a little bit sloppy. But it's not the worst thing ever. It hides the bumper, and it looks pretty decent from afar. That is not bad. Okay, let's do some running boards. Probably gonna need some of those. Now, there are actual running boards in-game, so I figure I should probably use them instead of trying to make my own like I usually do. Yeah, so if we just slap some of those on, we'll just duplicate them on both sides. That'll be an easy way to fill in that space. Alright, now I wanted to do a bit of a bumper cut at the back, specifically up this way. But I don't know if we're going to be able to do that now that the tape just doesn't seem to be here, unless I'm just totally missing it, which is a possibility. Also, we do have a bunch of different roof racks and things that we could throw onto this, but I don't know if we're going desert prerunner or desert like adventurer. There is a difference. Like, this would be definitely a desert adventurer look here. We could just put one of these on. Okay, maybe not this one exactly, but just have a roof rack on the top, and we're off for an overlanding journey. But it doesn't seem to have much of a place in a prerunner, so that's why I'm not doing that. Well, let's go ahead and try and cut it a little bit. We'll take off the sides and the back using that technique from before. It's not great, but it will work for this, hopefully. Always hopeful. Well, that's pretty awkward because the bottom of the body still shows, so I don't think I'm going to do that. I guess we'll just have to work this one in. We'll have to do some sort of bumper or something, just to fill it in a bit more. Well, I got a bumper in there. I made the lights red. I don't know how I feel about that, but at least something's on there. It's matching front and back. It's a pretty simple design. There really isn't much to it. I figure we should probably make this a bit bigger as well. This is the pre-runner version, but it doesn't have to be much different. It was already pretty well geared for off-road in the first place. Let's go on a little bit as I sort of think of more ideas. Probably another one of these or two, just to show off its desert capabilities, and then I think we'd be good. But we need to get these wheels in order. We need to get this drivetrain in order, and I want to see how heavy it is, because it might end up being way too heavy. So let's see. On the graphs, so we have a bit more top speed than we did before, so we'll put that up to 200. It's currently a 4x4 manual, makes sense. 5 speed, 200 k's an hour, and wheel spin is pretty high because it does have, it has off-road tires on it. Not going to help with the wheel spin at all. Okay, we're going to need that locker, I would think. Probably, you know what, an LSD would not be bad, but having a locker is going to be useful when we go out into the desert. We've got radials, we've got chunky off-roads. These can be a lot bigger, 395s all the way around. That is massive. That is like an Icelandic roamer or something there. Hey, that gives me an idea. Okay, so obviously we're not going to go 395s, but we are going to go maybe 300s. We'll see how those look. This is like wildly off to the side, but it isn't going to be going on pavement anytime soon. It's already majorly offset, but we're going to offset it even more. We want that width especially. It's pretty important for this. So something that's a bit of trivia in this game is that these spacing things actually do add weight to your vehicle. So if you have spacing on a car that's supposed to be super light, it's going to be heavier because of it. Brakes. We should probably do something about this because as it stands, this vehicle will not stop. Let's go vented discs on both the front and the back. Currently the back is actually in a good spot, so we'll crank up the size of the front. Oh wait, we can't because it has 15s, so we'll put it up to 2 pistons, and that should be a bit better. Currently it's max size, both discs, all the way up in race. Yikes, I hope it stops. Aerodynamics, we don't actually need any of that, and we'll try and be semi-realistic here. It'll be just a basic and none, but when it comes to safety, we'll go advanced safety, and I'm going to put ABS on it because I don't want to die. And then suspension wise, it's the same thing as it was before. Basically just trying to go for something that's strong off-road. Some of these are better off-road than others, like hydro pneumatic apparently is better off-road, but I do prefer the standard suspension when building vehicles like this. So this is what it looks like without going back into the graphs. I realize now I'm missing exhaust, so we'll add that as well. And other than that, it seems to be pretty good. Let's go ahead and do that exhaust, and then we'll go back and check the graphs to make sure we're in a good spot, because otherwise we're going to need to go over a few things. Alright, so should we fix this? I guess we probably should. Just got to lower the size of the front wheels just a little bit, and also the back ones as well. And then it will fix itself. Keeping in mind that makes these a lot smaller. I don't know if that's actually a good thing or not. I do like the 300s. But having this graph in a good spot is also important. So it's a bit of a toss-up. It's like, which one do we want to compromise? Wheel width or drivability? Alright, I found a happy medium. We're going 250 on the front, 280 on the back. I think that looks pretty darn good. You can see the spacing there, which is not exactly good, but yeah, max spacing is not a bad thing. We need that width. And the 280s on the back is pretty much perfect. Hopefully the grip will be good. Again, this is going to be bad in terms of wheel spin. I guess that's just a bit to be expected at this point. Quickly checking this gear though, that first gear seems to be a little bit too short. We should probably be able to get to at least 60 on the first gear. Alright, I think we're good. The 300 horsepower Sancho prerunner is ready to go face the desert in Beam. Well, we'll try it on a few different styles. I think we're going to use the main desert map, but if not, we'll use Utah, as it was just recently redone, so it's a good time to check it out. Anyway, let's export this thing and get over to Beam. Hey, so I've got some good news. With the new desk also comes the ability to use my new wheel, but we're not going to be using it in this video. We'll be using it instead in the next one coming up for Friday, which is going to be on Forza Horizon 4, so look forward to that. It's going to be my first time using the wheel in that game. I've only briefly tested it in Beam, so it's going to be good. But anyway, after that, pretty much every video that I have, I'll be using that, unless it just doesn't work for it. We'll see though. Anyway, let's go to back to the Sancho. So it currently is a little bit darker in the day. I did that on purpose because this map is very bright. I'm really trying to avoid YouTube compression destroying this game because it really likes to. Before I go anywhere, I gotta turn down my volume because this thing is loud. Being a Boxer 6 is one of the louder engines in the game, but it also has a decent enough amount of power to be able to get this thing going. Even at high range, as I'm moving now, we're just going to be flowing through the desert for most of this video at this point. Let's go see some sights. Let's just cross the desert and see how we do, and we'll continue to drive until we find some cool stuff, because I know there are some little things here and there in this desert. It's not just a wide open space. So on that topic, we immediately have run into a rock formation. Not really much to see here, except I just probably bent something. That's okay though, because the sand isn't too bad here. We can just continue on, building up speed and potentially crossing the dunes. Now, I gotta say that this is looking perfect. I don't want to go too quick because we're gonna break something, but when I'm bumping over the dunes like this, the wobble-matic suspension, as Fail Race may say, is doing quite well. It's good to be soft when you're in the desert. It's pretty terrible on the pavement, but yeah, that's why this thing was made for the desert. I actually came up with the idea to do this video because I came up with an idea. We do some brainstorming for the showcases every once in a while. And I was thinking, what if we did a cross the desert showcase, one where you need to build a vehicle specifically that can just cross this desert at speed. And this is a pretty long desert, so we wouldn't be able to do too many vehicles, but it could be fun. Anyway, let me know what you think about that. I don't know, it might be a little bit boring, but yeah, it could be an interesting showcase. I see it's just sand dune wherever you look around here. Let's reset it so we can get back up to speed. Alright, one thing I do want to try before we go too far is we've been running 4-wheel drive, but we've been running with unlocked diffs, so we might be able to get more traction with them locked. Turning isn't too much of an issue because we're not really turning, we're just going straight over the dunes. Probably a mistake, but yeah, I'm just hammering it and going for it. That's where the fun is, at the very least. But this vehicle just seems to not be able to get stuck. So far, I haven't had any issues at all in this desert, and yet, well, we're definitely not the optimal pre-running vehicle. We can try a couple others. There are a few that are built into Beam itself. Ooh, that was a big hit there while we damaged some stuff. The manual gearbox might have been a bit of a mistake. It's not really needed. I guess you can pick an optimal ratio, but it's not necessarily required. Like, a good dual clutch would definitely work well in this situation. And I mean, that would probably work even better than what I'm doing right now. The problem is that this is a 1985 vehicle, and yeah, it doesn't have that option. So the desert is one that suffers really poorly. Oof. From the YouTube compression, and I think that's just because of the issue that it throws up sand behind you as you drive. So if YouTube can see that, it's going to be hard, as well as all the lines on the ground. It's a lot of little details to cover, and that's why I've attempted to switch to 2K. Hopefully it goes well. You'll be seeing the fruits of it if it does. Well, I've reached the end of the map. Not quite as quickly as I had anticipated. We did pretty much start in the middle. I'm pretty sure that's what happens when you start off with this. But while we're on the theme of desert, we've run this pretty much enough to show what's going on with it. So let's try and spawn something else. And I'll show you how that goes in the desert so we have some sort of comparison. Alright, so when you think 300 horsepower is not enough, you go back to the Workman. This is a 600 horsepower vehicle. It's supposed to mimic the Raptor. Yeah, let's give it a try. It's going to be equally dangerous, I would say. It does have an auto, or at least a dual clutch of some kind. I think we'll be okay with this one just because it's so, like, it's pretty much ready for the desert. It's got the manual, okay, that bumper is gone, and immediately we flipped. I think I might have spoken a little bit too soon there, although it's probably just my fault. Okay, attempt number 2. But as I was saying, I think that this vehicle in particular is quite well equipped for the desert. It's got good traction, it's got off-road wheels on it, it's got good ground clearance, it loses its bumper really quickly, but that's not that big a deal. It's pretty much ready for the desert, and it's got enough power to get through without too much trouble. But let's try something that pretty much has the opposite of all of those things and see if it can even go anywhere. So what if we tried to use the Dangan stance in the desert? What would that do? Let's give it a try. This is a front-wheel drive car, as you can currently see. Does not have off-road wheels by any stretch of the imagination. I mean, we're still going, but we are 100% scraping the ground. It's a good thing that this is a flat surface. Now this is bringing up the whole Dakar argument here. Okay, I'm in 3rd gear, but I don't know if that's really gonna last. Oh, we actually did crest a jump. Not much I can say about that though, we're just kinda motoring along here, and you could probably go down into 2nd. This is surprisingly quick in the desert. Not gonna be durable at all because the suspension is stiffer than, well, pretty much anything. But yeah, not terrible, believe it or not. I find it funny that the wheels are moving at different rates. I'm honestly not 100% sure what that is. Like, in motorsport it could be shutter speed of camera, but like, this is a game. There is no camera. I guess we'll just go for this hill and try it out. We might be dragging the back wheels, I guess. Goodness, the Dangan is actually a lot better than I thought it would be. It is surprisingly quick and surprisingly durable. Oh, that's 2nd gear. Ooh, that was a bit of a jump though. It's hard to break this apparently. This is the perfect desert car. Who knew all you had to do was lower it, add bigger wheels, stickers, and then you just go right out in the desert. That's all you need. So we've done 2 4-wheel drive cars, 1 front-wheel drive. Let's try rear and see if that makes a difference. This thing is the pitch black Apocalypse Crown Vic. Let's give it a try. It's an auto, it's rear-wheel drive. Okay, a little bit slippy right out of the gate, but it is moving. I mean, we should be able to get up to a decent amount of speed. I don't know how long the accessories on this are going to last, but the Dangan itself was able to get up to 110-ish, just roaming the desert, so this should be able to do better than that. I believe it's only got maybe 200 and something horsepower, but the Dangan doesn't have much more, or I believe it's less than that, so it should be okay. If I can stay straight, that is, my goodness. Yeah, apparently there just isn't any engine noise in this car. I guess that's because it has mufflers. There's a very large distinction between no mufflers and mufflers in this game, and currently this rear-wheel drive is struggling a lot. Okay, if we go downhill and we just kind of barrel it on straight, we should be okay, but generally speaking, this rear-wheel drive is just not holding up too well. Maybe we can try a different rear-wheel drive and see if that's any better. But, I don't know. This car, even with its good ground clearance, it's not going too fast. I guess this could also be an argument in favor of the manual, because, like I was doing before, I could just leave it in second and just hammer it all the way, just bash the limiter the whole way through. Oh, this car does apparently have a S1 and S2, but yeah, we'll just leave it here. Let's try another one. So what about this Porsche-esque vehicle I made a long time ago? It is a rear engine or actually I almost said inline, but it's a V8, I believe, naturally aspirated. This was for one of the showcases a while ago. Let's see if it'll do any good on this sand. I don't think it will, but this was supposed to be a rally car, I believe, or a hill climb at the very least. I've forgotten which showcase it was for. Oh, immediately though, it's better than that Crown Vic. It's got a lot more power, so we can't say too much. I guess the super wide back wheels are helping out, but this thing was a major handful when I was actually supposed to be trying it in the showcase, or at least for the practice. Okay, I've got an idea. Let's lock the back diff, and then see if we can do any better with that. It's still in 5th gear, drop it down to 4th. We don't want too much wheel spin. We basically just need that pure speed in gearing. As long as we can maintain our current momentum, we should be fine. Maybe down to 3rd then? Oh no, 4th is the place to be. Ooh, massive drift, but we are still going. Let's go into the more preferred view. Cinematic. And there it goes. Well, this is not exactly the easiest way to drive, but it definitely looks good. Yeah, this is the view you're going to be seeing when I switch to the wheel, so that's going to be interesting. The one reason I do want to play Forza with it is because it does have a view where you're in the cockpit and then the steering wheel disappears, but you can still see the gauges. So it's pretty much the perfect view for what I've currently got set up, because I don't have multiple screens set up for this. I've only got one main one and then a secondary monitor I use for the actual recording software. So if I ever get a sim rig one day, it'll be better, but for now, not so much. Right, so the Porsche is actually quite good. It is very good. Let's try something else. Now, from this lineup, there are a lot of Beam cars in here as well. But from my general lineup of vehicles, there are quite a few that could be interesting. Stuff like this WRC car, for example, or the King 630. But I want to try, out of curiosity, the front-wheel drive Panther Alaska. Let's give that a go. Alright, here it is. Put it in drive, and that's all you get. This car actually does have good ground clearance. It's definitely not low by any means. It's meant to be a much older vehicle, so yeah, it wasn't exactly flush. But my goodness, these front-wheel drive cars are not bad in the desert. Like, rear-wheel drive you can barely control yourself, but front-wheel drive it just pulls you all the way through. Even when it takes a big hit like that, this car keeps going. I'm interested to see if we could just drive a car across the entire desert, what that would look like. Because if we did that based on endurance, it would be particularly difficult, especially with these cars. Ooh, looks like I found a bit of civilization here. Let's go over there, and then we'll come back to the Sancho before we're done with this video. And I broke the engine on the way there. Well, it looks like we might just be able to coast on in. But there we go. Ruins of something in the desert. Never know what it is, but just could be dust. At least now it is. Well, back to the place that this video started. It's the Sancho. Doing pretty good off-road. It is good in comparison to its previous contenders there. You can see that this one, especially with the diffs lock, can get up to a lot of speed. It's made for the desert, but it's still, I mean, it could still use some work in the desert for sure. And driving skill is definitely something that can come in handy as well. I'm basically just driving it straight through, so it's definitely not an optimized route by any means. Like, ideally I'd want to be driving the slopes properly instead of just going all the way up them and then jumping off, but it is a lot of fun to jump off, so can't say too much. Well, there you have it. That's the Desert Prerunner Sancho, ready to go. A little bit of difficulty with the suspension at first, but that was easily fixed. Double wishbone front and back actually works really nicely off-road. And overall, I really like the way that this turned out. I don't think I missed anything. I guess that's easier to say when I've started with something that already had pretty much everything it needed. But overall, this thing, pretty interesting car. But anyway, that's it for this video. So as usual, I just want to thank everybody who has chosen to support the channel, specifically Canadian Steel, Slow Fried Chicken 69, Overlord, Justin, and that Riced Out Explorer. Thank you again for your support. I appreciate it a lot.